He wants to go and work in a foundry in this heat. Oh dear. Morgan? Where's Morgan? Morgan's gone. Oh, hang on a minute. Dear Last Chance Foundry, my name's Matt. Thanks for everything, but it's time for Morgan to move on. I've got to chase my dream of being the first Acme furnace on a Roadrunner cartoon. Didn't they stop filming those back in the 70s? I found out about that cheating and the Arga. You've been an inspiration, mostly Nick. MMM. I don't know what MMM stands for. Morgan moved to America. Oh well, better go and tell our brother. Klaus?
What?
As you know, Morgan's left.
Very fucking time.
Found out about his missus in the Arga. But he wanted to let you know that he found you inspirational. At first when I read that in his note I thought, he melted himself down, he took him to the scrapyard, but turns out he's decided to take up another career. Guess what he's doing?
You're going to be the left-hand driver's side wing of a Skoda.
Close.
Go on.
He heard that the anvil from Acme and the Warner Brother cartoons had been sacked, so they decided to use the furnace instead, and Morgan's up for the role.
Oh, okay.
Sweet, isn't he? But anyway, because you were such an inspiration, he decided to get us some presents. Because you were such an inspiration, he decided to get us some presents.
That was really sure, buddy. Go on, what's these fucking presents?
Some lemon. He's got us some hats. This one's mine. Look at my ears. Those backwards.
What's he saying?
What do you think it says?
No, thanks.
Sweet. And we got you one.
Any t-shirts? I won't put it on properly. Can I take your order? Any t-shirts?
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the moment of realization.
Dinosaur egg! It's a dinosaur egg.
It's a dinosaur egg.
I'm feeling after Chrissy Allen.
This is Chrissy Allen. Alan, do you want that? Go and see him at Lids.
Is that what it's called? Lids?
Yeah, it's in Miriam.
They do t-shirts as well.
I don't think they do t-shirts. Steph could do a t-shirt if you want a t-shirt.
They've got to be able to do t-shirts.
No, they've got basketball jerseys and hockey jerseys. But this one's a dinosaur egg.
How much was that?
Don't ask.
How long did it take to do?
Don't ask.
When did you order them?
Today.
Oh, well, okay.
It's 35 quid.
What are you fucking taking that? You're going, I want a hat with it, it's a dinosaur.
You're going to walk past the shop window and there's going to be hats. It's a dinosaur egg.
It's a dinosaur egg.
I've got the bloke to do it. He was like, "What the f*** you want?"
What do you want?
What do you want?
Did you explain it to
And then when he printed it off, he went, "That looks awesome." I was like, "No."
Alright,
So if you want a dinosaur egg hat, head over to Lids in Merry Hill.
See how the message we get for that now.
Oh, no. Now it's time to address the issue of how much fun we're having and how many people actually want us to talk serious. Apparently I made it sound as though it was final last episode, but okay, fine. It's not really good. It's just going to carry on. There's not going to be any final episode unless someone really goes for. But anyway, a couple of comments that have been put on the videos that have been over the past few episodes are: one, can we leave the music out, but you do you, and the other one was waste of time. I thought this was going to be educational. If they watch the first videos, it's just about the transition from the current owner, Gary, to lads that are going to take over from him afterwards, and that transition period. It's kind of like a vlogumentary more than a documentary or how-to, if I'm honest. It's more like that is what I was aiming for. But it turns out people want to know more about how things work. That's great, lovely feedback. I'm only happy to give it. So, to be a bit more serious, I'll start with the Foundry itself, because I know I've done a little bit about what the Foundry does, but it's a die-cast foundry. Basically, we just make the zinc components through the die-casting format. You have a mould, a block, which has your impressions in it. You have your die, which is your block of steel. You have shapes cut in to each two halves, and one half makes one half of the casting, the other half makes the other half, and generally those components are made to go on as part of an assembly. It's very rare that you get them as their own individual components, unless they're for something like jewellery or a keyring, something that's a little bit knick-knacky. Most of the stuff we do is to go on parts of other assemblies. Most of the stuff that we do is architectural hardware. It is mostly building stuff. So we've got fire door stuff, we do stuff that's for roofing, we do stuff that's for UPVC doors and windows, and there's many other different bits. Some of it's automotive, mostly classic cars, because modern automotive stuff generally uses aluminium stuff now, unless they're pushed down the zinc route because they need the strength that aluminium can't offer in a smaller package. So the automotive stuff that we do is mostly for classic cars, and generally the profit margins for those sorts of components have to be higher because the amount of classic cars that are around is very small. So anything from 60s, 70s, maybe pushing up the 80s and pushing into the 90s, they would have been using zinc as part of their assemblies, sub-assemblies or main components. The ones that we currently do are mostly headlights, rear lights, tail lights, badges when it comes to automotive stuff. But just to talk a bit more about the machines that do those parts, we run EMBs, which was made in West Bromwich, England, and they are super reliable. All the consumable parts you can make yourself. We have a lathe, and it's only a Colchester student, and we can churn out the consumable parts to make these machines keep running all day, every day. If you go into any machine shop, there's always an old machine in the corner, an old miller or an old lathe, and right next to the CNCs, the band of CNCs that they might have in a machine shop, you'll always have the old-fashioned millers and lathes right next to it. Why? Because they're so useful. They're so reliable, and if you want to do a small job, you just bang your part on there, bang your material on there, and just make the part straight away. If you just want to make a cut, that's what you do. Pretty much these do the same thing. Now, because of that, their reliability and their ability to make parts that go wrong, we have a fleet of them. And this one is a little one. It's a number 8. These are called the tie bars. That's 1, 2, and you have 4 of them. There's one down there, and there's the one on that side. This one's called the number 8 because the gap between the tie bars is 8 inches. So henceforth, number 8. I believe it's a 60-ton machine, or it might be an 80-ton machine. I'd have to ask our brother, because he knows these inside out. There's nothing he doesn't know. If he can't If he doesn't know what's wrong with this machine, nobody knows. It's just under in the middle of my torso. That's how tall that one is. Number 10, again, is another EMB. This is a 10. It's called number 10 because it has 10 inches between the tight bars. Now this one, you can see, is up to my shoulder. I believe this one's 100 ton. It might even be 80 ton. I mean, that one might be 60. This one's 80. And the number 12, a 12 inch between the tie bars. Again, this one's even taller. I'm being watched now. I don't like it when I'm being watched. And this one's even taller. This one comes up to about my ear height. I'm 6'3". And this one's got 12 inches between the tie bars. See? Big gap. That's a foot. Now then, that's the pneumatic stuff, runs on air. What we then have is the one that gives us a bit of a problem every week. This is the 120 ton. EMB 120 ton. Named 120 ton because that's the locking force. It's a hydraulic machine. And it locks out, flattens, where the die sits in between there, at 120 tons. The head itself, which is injecting the metal into the cavities, it's about 3 ton. So that means you can put even bigger tools. The reason why you go from a 12 to 120 ton is because if you was to have an EMB 14, I don't think they ever existed or they ever made one, but there was no point in doing an EMB 14 because in doing 14-inch gap between the tie bars meant that the locking force needed to be so much bigger to lock it out. It was a waste of time doing a pneumatic machine. So instead of doing a bigger machine for pneumatic, you could do half the size of a machine, half the size of what would be a 14, and turn it into 120 ton, which is smaller. If you watched, if ever you've seen Brandon Herrera talk about an AK-50 that he made, he says the AK-50 round, which is a 50 cal that he's made, if you was to scale it up 1 to 1, the AK-50 would be absolutely huge. This is kind of the same thing. If we was to scale the pneumatics up to reach the same pressures that would in the 120, in the pneumatic version, you'd have a massive machine. It'd be absolutely pointless when you could just use hydraulic and have a smaller package, just more efficient, so much more efficient, although the electric bills are high. And then your next one we have is another EMB, which is an EMB 180. Not the biggest machine ever made, but it's the biggest machine on our shop floor. You don't want to drop it on your toes. Again, hydraulic, 180 tons of locking force on the dies. The heads are pretty much the same. They literally don't change the heads. Now, the machines itself are over-engineered. These can actually lock out at about 220 tons, and the heads can produce even more power. It's just when they made them from the factory, they reduced the amount of stress that you could put on the heads just so that they was more reliable. Other die casting machines, although they do wind them back a bit, they don't do this. These are turned right down. And that's the machines. Now we'll show you more about how they work later on, pulling the levers and such. So if you just hang around a sec, we'll show you that. There's no words. Water everywhere. What was going to be an educational video has turned into a f***ing crisis video again. Turns out the big brother of the little brother, this one, that gives us a problem every week, has decided to spring a leak. So in true last chance foundry fashion, the affairs of the foundry take over from the affairs of the foundry. C'est la vie. Let's give it 20 minutes, see what happens.
Reversing sensors because I can't touch distance very well because I've only had one eye. Well, look at my shoulder.
Say just because you got one eye.
I know exactly where it is. I've had it all my life.
Have you? Floor's drying out. It's slowing down. I don't know whether it's going to stop, you know. Problem is, even though the floor's drying out, because it's so fucking warm, we've got these two tanks here. 1,000 litres of water in the one at the bottom, 500 litres in the top. That's a lot of water to be emptying onto the floor. If that doesn't stop, if that doesn't slow down quick. It is slowing though. You might see us back here again in the night. Instead of fire, it's going to be mud. This does mean that the machines now have to be shut down and the leak has to be fixed. That's going to have to be a job for tomorrow.
It's a 16 buff in the dark of